Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday. I prefer to think of it as a happy continuation day. In Buddhist philosophy, birth is considered a continuation of existence because long before you were born, you're already present in your parents and their ancestors before them. Think of it like a wave in the ocean, rising up to come back down and return to the sea. The wave is born and dies, but the ocean remains. As Thich Nhat Hanh explains it, every day you transform. Some part of you is born and some part is dying. Old cells die and new cells emerge. At the time of releasing this video, I'm celebrating 35 years of existing in this realm. And I thought it would be fun to reflect on the most valuable lessons I have learned in the past 10 years. So let's look at my achievements. I have no steady income, unmarried, no kids, no house to call my own. But even though I'm still a struggling artist on a shoestring budget with an uncertain financial future, I'm much happier than I was 10 years ago. When I was 25, I tried living sober for the first time. Alcohol had played a big part of my life until then, and it was destroying me. But more on that in some future video maybe. I mostly spent the first year of sobriety trying to find like-minded people. As in, a culture that didn't revolve around getting wasted and also finding new hangout spots other than bars and clubs. Just trying to keep my head above water, really. Once I got more comfortable navigating life without alcohol and sobriety finally actually stuck, that's when I started to see some real inner growth. I had to learn some hard lessons, but it was worth the sense of peace I gained. Like, I finally learned to accept that life doesn't always go the way I want it to. I had to take a much deeper look at my big dreams of becoming a Hollywood actress that I had since I was little, and look at it in a completely different way. I realized that what attracted me about that life wasn't the big Hollywood dream. It was just being around like-minded people, sharing that passion for creating art and for life. And once I found that community in my own country, I no longer felt like I was missing out on life. And I felt like I could finally breathe again, like my soul had come back to life. Ready for this one? I thought I was old at 25. I felt like I somehow missed my window. It took me turning 35 to realize that I'm actually in the prime of my life today. The age you are is the best age to be. Because every year, every day of experiencing life brings such amazing and unexpected gifts. I think I was trying to get to some kind of imagined finish line, and I forgot to stop and smell the roses. Like, I missed out on a chance to study in Australia for a semester because I was trying to graduate early so that I could move to Hollywood and pursue my acting career before I'd get too old, and I was 25. Yeah. Spirituality. Today I'm a lot more spiritual than I was 10 years ago. Back then, I was just beginning to find out about mindfulness and meditation, and today it's part of my daily practice. At first, I couldn't even keep my mind still for 30 seconds. I just had too much on my mind to sit still for that long. Nowadays, I actually look forward to my 30-minute sessions of alone time with my guided meditation app. It keeps me sane. Going through the day mindfully keeps me from getting out of balance. It reminds me to be grateful for what I have rather than focusing on things that I don't have. And when life gets overwhelming, it helps me to focus on the breath, to find that inner calm. Take a pause and reflect before reacting. I definitely did not have that kind of patience at 25. Physical health. My ambitions to be fit definitely were there 10 years ago, but probably due to poor time management, poor commitment skills, and a bad drinking habit, I had no regular routine for working out. But I think that now I finally figured out what works for me. First of all, choose activities that you like. For me, that was key. Mountain biking was my main sport for a while. I would commit to biking by asking a friend to join me. That way it's harder to back out. So when first starting out a new habit, that can be something helpful. And after just a couple of weeks, my body tends to get accustomed to the routine. So then I actually start to crave for that activity, even if the other person cancels. And that's how new habits are formed. And after that, I added on yoga/Pilates, which at first was an in-person class, but now I actually do just from home by following YouTube classes. Thank you, COVID. And then there's the weekly rock climbing and pole fitness. And then the cherry on top is the occasions on which I go kayaking, supping, wakeboarding, but those are a bit more sporadic because they take a lot more time to arrange or set up. Oh, and of course, running. My favorite, my least favorite. But running is a very important tool for me to use when I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed because it definitely gives me the most release. A good run can be very beneficial for eliminating negative energy. Impermanence. Over the years, I gained some perspective on materialism. Not that I consider myself to be extremely materialistic, but it wasn't until recently that it really hit me that when you die, you leave all your stuff behind. I'd heard it before, but it just suddenly resonated. When you look around at all the stuff you collect over a lifetime, it becomes overwhelming. Immediately, I felt the urge to declutter my entire home space. It's an ongoing process, but hey, you know, we're not perfect. I can definitely still improve on that. But as an artist, it's easy to make an excuse for why something should stay. Anyway, I wasted a big part of my 20s being worried about material gains, like buying a house, because I could not imagine how in this economy I would ever own my own house with my particular income. And yet it's something that I always thought I wanted. We grow up believing that we need our own house, own car, own everything in order to feel whole and happy and accomplished. But after thorough reflection, I realized that these types of things are symbolic of safety, shelter, and security. And those are things that you can start to acquire well before settling into your own home, because it's a mindset. So I had to change my mindset and teach myself to be happy living in a borrowed space. Because when you think about it, there is no such thing as my own. Nothing is permanent. We're all living here for a fraction of time. And the house that I built today won't even exist anymore a couple of centuries from now. So my self-worth is not dictated by the stuff I own. How freeing is that? Resourcefulness. I honestly believe that I could have achieved so much more, so much sooner, if I knew how to locate the resources. Learning how institutions work takes time. Universities, governments, banks, society in its entirety, calling for services like a plumber, traveling tips, etc. It would have been nice to have had a guidebook on navigating life. Some people learn these skills early on, but for me, they took a long time to develop. And I only just now feel like I'm finally getting the hang of it. And that's because I only just now learned how to ask. I always wanted to be self-sufficient and I had a hard time reaching out for help. Maybe I felt like people would judge me for being inadequate, but I was the only one judging myself. I lived in Los Angeles for a whole year without getting an agent because I just didn't know where to begin. What a waste. The quickest way to move ahead is by just asking someone who already has the experience you seek. Just ask! Huh, who'd have thought? I'm also extremely grateful for YouTube because I treat it as my best friend and advisor. Whenever I hit into a dead end, I type in my question and within minutes I have my answer. It saves so much time when you don't have to figure stuff out through trial and error. Want to grow some lychees in the tropics? No problem! Someone before you has tried it and shared their tips online. Use your resources. It saves time. Your only true asset. Death. There's nothing like a birthday to make you reflect on dying. I think that in your 20s, death is supposed to be something that feels far away, but for me it never did. It felt like it was always lurking just around the corner. I lost a couple of people that were close to me around that age, and I felt like something was being taken away from me. like I was being robbed of something. But the more reflection I do on death, the more I realize that life is a gift. If you are able to spend time with somebody whose company you really appreciate, that's a precious gift. And since nothing is permanent, it's good to be aware that this amazing person is temporary as well. So I'm learning to shift my attention from feeling like something is being taken away to embracing my appreciation for having had such a wonderful person in my life to begin with. How much I laughed with them, learned from them, and experienced through them. Of course, death is also a good reminder to live each day to the fullest. Work towards the future, but don't forget to live for today. I constantly remind myself of things that I would like to achieve in my lifetime. And I prioritize it by asking, if I had one more day to live, what would I do right now? And sometimes the answer is simple, like I would write another chapter in my book because that's something that I love to do. Which brings me to my next point. Life is too short for chores. So hear me out. Chores are a privilege, not a dread. Think about it. About a century ago, people would still wash their clothes by hand. Have you ever tried it? It is extremely time-consuming and labor-intensive. It's a total workout. So how lucky are we to have machines to do the work for us? It saves us so much time and effort. And yet, we still don't want to do it. But what if you turn that around? What if you focus on being grateful for having all those clothes in the first place? And how simple and easy it has become to keep them clean? How lucky are we to have running water and electricity? Then, suddenly it becomes a privilege, a luxury. Same with washing dishes. What if there was not such an easy way to disinfect all our crockery? I don't even want to imagine it. And sweeping or mopping the floor? Just put a little music on it and have some fun while you're at it. I'm not saying that it's easy to adopt this kind of change, but with a little constant mindset reminder, your appreciation for being able to do household chores will grow. Personal progress. If you're going to compare yourself to anyone else, compare yourself to the you from yesterday. I heard that somewhere, can't remember, but I liked it. I have far too often judged myself for not having accomplished as much as some of my peers. Why? And what was I comparing anyways? Financial success? External achievements? But what about personal achievements? I spent a lot of time in the past decade on my personal growth, carving the path to become the person that I wanted to become, which is someone who strives to be the best version of herself and someone who challenges the norm. I like taking my time to reflect on the way we're living and question why. And if I don't like something, I'll change it. I've learned to embrace my eccentric side. I'm a bit out of the box and I can be a bit of a loner. I also spent a lot of time learning to navigate my sensitivity, a trait that I felt insecure and even guilty about for most of my life. I felt like I needed to apologize to people around me for not being able to enjoy large crowds or loud places, excessive perfumes, large groups, group outings, team building activities, etc. Too much stimulation drains the hell out of me. And I'm finally not afraid to say that out loud without feeling like I'm somehow incompetent. I'm so grateful to finally embrace that part of myself. Hi, I'm Shannon, and I'm a grateful HSP, highly sensitive person. What I have to contribute to society might be different from the majority, but not less valuable. So I learned to embrace my strengths, instead of seeing them as flaws. And I finally accepted that I am not driven by money. Money is such a big part of our society that we follow the money without even a second thought. But I had to admit to myself that I just don't give a damn about money. All I ever wanted was to have a lot of money, just so that I wouldn't ever have to worry about money again. Money adds stress, and I just didn't want to have to deal with that stress. But I don't actually desire a lot of money because I don't want to own or buy a lot of things. Just freedom. Bottom line, I'm where I am today because I choose to be. I did not aspire to get rich, get married, have kids. I wanted to find peace within myself first. And at 35, I feel like I have finally achieved some sense of serenity. So that concludes my life lessons from 25 to 35. I hope you enjoyed my continuation day reflections. So this is the part where I would normally ask you to subscribe, but I'm not going to. I'm not gonna ask you. It's up to you. It's a free world. Don't have to. Hold on, let me unplug the Frigidaire. In this realm, focus on me. Okay. So today I'm 35 and I survived the bottle, so I'm still alive. But more than that, I finally learned how to thrive.